This is the JJK84 from EpoMaker, a budget barebones kit that has a lot going for it, and I would love to recommend it to someone as a good value budget choice, and for someone who's looking to build a budget custom keyboard. But due to one major flaw, I just can't do that, which is a real shame. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys, Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. I decided to take a bit of a break from all the PC hardware discussion and hardware testing to tackle something that was sitting on my desk for several months now. This is the Fecker JJK84 from EpoMaker. It's a bare bones DIY keyboard that utilizes the 75% layout, and I was so intrigued by this board when I first saw it because it was only $30 US, and I picked it up around the time I had branched out into the custom mechanical keyboard hobby. Earlier this year, I reviewed a few different keyboards because I had tried out a custom board at a friend's house and the typing experience was so good, I was like, now I understand why people mod and build their own boards. I wanted to try it out for myself. Plus, it was around the time when crypto mining was still a thing and GPUs were obtainable, so nobody really wanted to talk about PC hardware. Anyways, that's enough rambling, let's get into this review, and to start off, I wanted to do a quick unboxing. The board came in a very simple cardboard box, just big enough to hold the board, nothing fancy, all it has is just the logo on the front. Opening up the box, we have the keyboard that comes wrapped in a foam sleeve. Some extra foam padding around the keyboard would have been nice as well to help prevent any damages during shipping. There's also a manual included which will include some info about shortcuts, as this is a compact keyboard which is missing some keys, so you want to make sure to keep that and don't throw it out. In the little accessories compartment, all you get is just a Type-C to Type-A USB cable, that's it. I was a bit disappointed there wasn't at least an included 2-in-1 switch and keycap puller. After all, this is a DIY barebones kit, where people will be installing and removing their own parts. Moving on to the design and aesthetics, there's really not much to say here. This keyboard has a very clean and minimalistic design. As mentioned earlier, it's utilizing a 75% layout, which is one of my favorite layouts because what you get is an experience and functionality of a 10 keyless, but without all that excess spacing between the keys. The design is exactly the same as the RK84 I had reviewed last year, but a tad bit smaller, which is great because that makes the board fairly portable. The white colored plate is also made from metal, which should give a much better and satisfying feel. The stabs are plate mounted, which is of course to be expected at this low price point, and out of the box they are quite wobbly and did rattle, so I'll be remedying that with some mods. On the bright side, they do come factory lubed. Along with that, they have implemented some sound dampening EVA foam between the plate and PCB, which surprised me because I wasn't expecting that at this price point. As for the case, I really like what they have done here. It's a translucent shell which gives you a glimpse of the keyboard's PCB and internals. I'm a fan of the see-through aesthetic, reminds me of the see-through Game Boys and my N64. The case is made out of ABS plastic, but it doesn't really feel cheap, and the other benefit of that is that it makes it fairly light. Flipping the board around, at the bottom you'll find 4 rubberized pads to prevent it from sliding around on your desk. You've also got 2 kick feet stands which are adjustable in 2 positions depending on how profound you like to tilt on your keyboard. There's also a USB dongle and toggle switch which allows you to switch between 3 different connectivity methods. That's right, at this price point, this keyboard offers you 3 ways to pair it with your device. You can go wired with a USB-C connection, 2.4 GHz wireless, or Bluetooth 5.0, which makes the board very versatile. There's also a label which covers the tiny 200 mAh battery, and that is just puny. You're better off upgrading it to a larger size if you plan on using it in wireless modes for long extended periods of time. I should also mention that the PCB is hot swappable if it wasn't obvious already. It supports 3-pin and 5-pin switches, making it compatible with tons of aftermarket switches. Along with that, the PCB is also backlit, but only has white LEDs, which is fine. Having any sort of backlighting at this price point is a welcome addition if you ask me. So that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in terms of the barebones board itself. Now out of the box, this keyboard is ready to go. All you have to do is just pop in your own switches, throw on some keycaps, and away you go. The switches that I'll be using for this board are Gateron Pro Yellows. These are a linear switch and they do come factory lubed, which is nice. As for the keycaps, I went with a double shot PBT set from Cooler Master, and these look really clean, they feel nice, durable, and along with that they are shine through as well to help make the backlighting look good. Links for all of the products I mentioned will be in the video description. Before I installed the switches and keycaps, I did want to apply some of my own mods to the board to make the typing experience better and also improve the way it sounds. The first thing that I needed to do was remove the 6 Phillips head screws that were holding the plate and PCB to the case. After those were removed, the PCB and plate came out very easily. The last thing I needed to do was also remove the battery cable. The next thing that I did was that I had removed the 4 Phillips head screws that were holding the PCB and plate together. Once they were unscrewed, everything came apart very easily. The EVA foam was basically just held together between the plate and PCB. After that, I had flipped the PCB around and began taping it with some painter's tape or masking tape, also known as the Tempest tape mod. What this does is that it basically gives the keyboard a thockier sound profile that works really well if you're using linear switches. If you don't want a deeper tone or sound profile and you're also looking to reduce noise, then I would recommend skipping this mod. I use 3 layers of tape here. I've heard the more layers you add, the deeper the sound profile becomes. As I was applying the layers, I was using a razor blade to cut around the battery connector and the toggle switch. The other thing I recommend doing is just pressing firmly down on the layers of tape between the switches. Once I had completed the taping process, I had flipped the PCB around and had applied some band-aids on the parts of the PCB where the stabs would hit when you press down on a key like spacebar or enter. This helps to reduce case ping and alleviate some of the rattling noises. The other thing that I did was after I stuck them on, I applied a light coat of dielectric grease. Finishing up the PCB, I had moved on to modding the plate. The only thing I did here was that I had applied some band-aids on the areas where the stabs would mount. This is really useful for helping you get rid of stab wobble as it makes the fit snugger and tighter. The stock stabs are pretty easy to disassemble. They come apart like any other stabs where the metal wire is just clicked in. I didn't apply any extra lube to the stabs themselves, nor did I have to clip the bottom of the feet since they come quite flat from the factory, which is a nice thing. The only other thing that I did was that I had dipped the ends of the metal wires in my tube of dielectric grease. The next step was to move on to the case. I noticed there was quite a lot of space between the bottom of the PCB and the case. This was good because it was pretty easy to install some foam, which will help with sound dampening, remove case ping, and make the keyboard sound a lot more premium because it gets rid of that cheap hollowness. As for the foam, I'm not using anything special. I found this foam from a box that I had received that contained a shipment of parts. You can really use anything you want for this step. An old mouse pad also works great. You can cut up an old shirt or socks. It's really up to you what you want to use. I just went with this foam because it matched the translucent case's aesthetic. You just want to make sure that you cut some openings and slits for the toggle switch and the battery cable. Once that was completed, it was just a matter of putting everything back together in reverse. One thing you want to make sure you do is to install the stabilizers onto the plate before screwing the plate to the PCB, because then you won't be able to install the stabilizers from the spacebar as there will be foam blocking it the other way. As you guys can see in the video, I actually missed that step, so I actually had to go back later and then redo it all. Putting the plate along with the PCB back into the case did become a little tricky due to all the extra materials, but all you have to do is just apply a bit of force and work your way around. Eventually it should all just go together so you can screw the plate and PCB back into the case. Once the board was reassembled, it was time to install our switches. This process is pretty simple. Just place the switches into the socket, and once you feel the pins have aligned with the holes, you can push down on them and the switch should go right into place. After that, the last part was to install the keycaps, and installing these was also pretty simple and straightforward. You just place the keycap on top of the switch, and with a little bit of force, it should just slide right on. And this is how the board turned out. I think it looks great. Now, the Cooler Masters keycap set I got was more so catered towards people with full-size keyboards, so it didn't include a smaller right alt, function, and control key, as well as not having a smaller right shift key. So I had to source those keys from a different set. But if only they had included a few different variations of those keys, it would have went a long way. Nonetheless, I'm quite happy with the way this keyboard turned out. It's still got a clean aesthetic and retains that minimalistic look. The white keycaps go well with the translucent case, and was one of the main reasons why I went for those. With the backlighting turned on, it really makes the keyboard pop, and those keycaps allow for the LED to shine through them. I think it turned out great, really makes the keycaps pop. Moving away from aesthetics, I'm sure you're all wondering how it sounds, so here is a quick sound test. I think it sounds pretty good. I do hear a bit of rattle from the spacebar. I didn't do any wire balancing, so maybe it might be due to that. But besides that, it's got a pretty good Thocky sound profile, and those Gateron yellows have a really deep sound profile. At this point, you're probably confused as to why I said I can't recommend this keyboard. I mean, so far I've been praising it. While this keyboard has a lot of positives going for it, there is one major flaw which in my opinion outweighs the good that honestly I'll probably just end up shelving this board or just use it as a fancy showcase piece. And that is the lack of NKRO or N key rollover. What I mean by that is this keyboard doesn't allow you to have numerous keys pressed down at the same time. I mean physically you can, but it won't register them. Unlike my RK96, I can press down as many keys as I want, use whatever combination I want, and it will register them. With this keyboard, if you use a combination like Ctrl-Shift-N, which is a shortcut for creating a new folder within Windows Explorer, it won't work. A basic command like that will not work for this keyboard. A lot of content creation software like video editing programs have loads of shortcuts you can use to make your workflow more efficient, so if you can't even utilize those, then what's the point? Even in gaming this can be an issue, as you might be holding down Shift to run, then you can throw in Control for crouch, and while you're doing that, maybe you want to open up the map real quick to check the enemy's location, so you try to press the M key, oh and guess what, it doesn't work and now you're dead. A user had reported this on their review section from their website, to which they responded and confirmed that only some keys are anti-ghosting, and if you try to press any other key which is not listed there, then it will be ghosting. So for this reason alone, I cannot recommend this board, which is a real shame because like I said, it's at a decent price point for a DIY kit, it's very mod friendly, looks great, feels great, is compatible with loads of switches. However, if these limitations will be such a detriment to the overall experience and usability, then what's the point? If you are looking for a viable alternative to this board, you're better off buying the RK84 from Royal Kludge on sale, which doesn't have this problem. I mean, eventually when you throw in your own switches and keycaps, you're kinda already close to that price point, so you might as well just go for that. But for whatever reason, if you're still interested in picking up this board, then I'll leave an affiliate link in the video description. But that'll do it for this one. Hope you all enjoyed. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.